So I have joined the ranks of real podcasters and started a Patreon. I'm into it. We got a few people doing it already, and I think it's the new way to sort of support podcasts and stuff like that, so I'm happy to be doing it. Anyway, if you want to join my Patreon and be a patron, you go to patreon.com/Will Noonan. Type in Will Noonan on the Patreon app and you can find it. I got a few levels right now. I got a $1. That's just the minimum for the old peeps out there who just want to support the cause a little bit but don't have a lot of money, and I understand that. I got the $2.69 a month, which is called Cookie Support, which is just the exact price of dark chocolate Milanos, which is something I get a lot. And then, of course, I got the $5 Noonan Show support, and then $10 if you want. You can be on the higher ups, hypothetically support level. But I think you can do whatever the fuck you want. Patreon's cool. I'm digging it. I already got 3 patrons. We already got people supporting. So it'd be great if you came out too. If you do the $5 or $10 one, you get a shout out on the podcast. Alright, guys. I'm fucking sorry for asking for money, but this is how it is now. That's podcasting. Alright, more content for patrons, of course, bonus stuff, extra tickets, all kinds of cool shit. It's an exciting new place we're going. Now, it's time for the show.
You're listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That's me coming at you from Worcester. I'm in Worcester, Massachusetts. Just finished up a very long night of comedy. I'm in the middle of a long week. Having a blast, though. All fun shit. All shit I'm going to do. All shit I'm about to talk to you guys about. And sort of talk about a bunch of different things. And this is the first show where I got a Patreon now. So I'm excited about that. I already got good old Flat Cat was my very first Patreon patron, almost immediate. She's the one who kind of been bugging me to start one for a while, and she's right, I should have one. But excited to do it and see where all that goes. But so tonight, I did 2 shows in a very short period of time. I opened a show in Auburn, Massachusetts for a good friend of mine, Larry Smith, was doing a fundraiser. I opened that show doing 15 minutes, and I closed the Woo Ha Ha Comedy Club in Worcester, which is about 8 miles away from the first gig. And it was no problem. Everything went well, but those nights are always very stressful because everything is down to maybe you only have wiggle room of 5-10 minutes in every direction. And when shit, starts to, like, the first show started to get delayed, and it was clear it was going to get delayed, and you start to sweat a little bit. But TBH, at this stage, I always know that most shows start a little late at either end, and somehow it always seems to work out. And also, I always kind of stick with this. It's not rocket science, not fucking surgery. It's not life and death. If I'm not there and the feature needs to stretch or the host needs to stretch 5-10 minutes, or God forbid something happens, everything will be fine. The world won't end. So kind of scheduling a couple comedy shows that are road-ish in one night can be a pain in the fucking ass, but this time it wasn't. But I've been on a run here the past week or so. I've just been doing shows. I did a big-ass show at the South Shore Music Circus for John Tobin Presents, which was off the hook fucking awesome. My dad walked out on stage unexpectedly to me and everybody, including my mom, who was sitting right next to him. My dad just, fucking decided he's a wild man. He was sitting on the aisle. It was a center in the round stage. You can see the pictures on Instagram, my Instagram, Will Noonan, the comedian. And I'm like, I had a great set. I had a great time. Everything's going good. And it will continue to go good. But I'm like, thank you, good night. And I look down and my dad's walking on stage. And I was like, what the fuck? And Tony V, I'm not even kidding you guys. Tony V, the comedian, great comedian, host of his own podcast and one with Jimmy Dunn, he was ready to fucking tackle my father. I saw it in his eyes. Tony V, it was just like when someone runs into a boxing ring or a wrestling ring. It's like 2019, man. They don't know if someone's coming up there to stab me. What the fuck? I saw security running. It was... So if you were there was like 2,000 people in the crowd. If you were there and you saw my face and I looked like there was some shock and terror for a second, it wasn't because of my dad coming on stage. It was just because I thought my 70-something-year-old father was about to get tackled and tased by angry security guards or Tony V. But luckily, I sort of saw what was happening in a second, and I stepped over. This whole thing was like a dream, thinking back on it. I stepped over, I'm like, it's my dad, it's my father. I don't know what he's doing, but that's my father. And my dad comes on stage and takes the mic out of Tony V's hand and starts talking to the crowd. And, you know, I do have a big joke in my act, like a 5 or 7 minute joke about smoking weed with my dad, and I do a voice. It's not really him, you know, it's not really about him. But he's always told me that he really loves that bit, and he likes it and everything like that. But he came on and he was kind of acting like, oh, he says all that stuff about me, and but just so you know, it's true. And it gets a laugh. And then I kind of was like, then I just was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And I was kind of in awe of it and just going with the flow. And then I took out my phone and recorded for like 12 seconds and then put my phone back in my pocket. And my dad's like, yeah, and I just want to say, you know, one thing to my son, I love him. And then it gets a big round of applause and he gives the mic back to Tony V, and we walk off. And it was like, I think my dad was kind of in shock at that moment. He couldn't believe what he had done. Even he couldn't believe what he had done. He's a wild man. I came from somewhere, you know. I can be wild. And I used to be real wild back when I drank. My dad still drinks, but I don't know how much he was drinking that night or not. But anyway, he came out on stage. I was as surprised as I've ever been seeing him walk out there, about to get tackled. But it was a good moment. It was a nice moment I'll remember for the rest of my life, for sure. But that is my dad. He is a wild man, and he's just not afraid to seize the moment like that. Like, looking back, like that night when I was thinking about it as I fell asleep, I was like, you know, it's not that crazy. That it's not that surprising, really. I never saw it coming, but not that surprising. No, my dad, he's kind of, he probably wants to do that at most live performances, but he can't. And this time he was like, I get to go out there and say something nice, but also I think he just wanted to feel it. You ever go to something and want to feel what it's like to be on stage? Probably not, but a lot of people do. Some of us become performers. I think my dad in another life, and if he had a dad like he is, if he had himself or a dad like I had, he would have ended up like me as a comedian or an artist or something. He's very creative and very funny, super fucking funny. So not surprised he took that moment to walk on stage. But it was something. It was a moment. A guy, Rich on Instagram, just sent me a picture. I can't remember. I'm so sorry off the top of my head. I was running around doing these shows, and he sent me the pic on Instagram that he took of the audience of my dad on stage, and I was like, that was a wild ass moment. So that was fucking Thursday night. Then I try and go home and go to sleep as early as possible, because I got up and filmed another car commercial in the morning at 8:30. I had to be there at 9, but you know, you gotta get across town and get up and get ready. So I had to get up at like 6:37 the next morning and film outdoors, so on the fly for like 2 hours straight, 2.5, 3 hours, whatever. It was fun as fuck, but it was kind of like high pressure in a sense. And then we get that done. Go pick up my new bowling ball from my buddy Jason, who drills bowling balls, and he's like my friend, and we bowl together. And he's really into bowling too, but he's also a carpenter, so he's got all this equipment, and he buys bowling balls and tries all this different shit with them. And sometimes he buys so many bowling balls that he's like, hey, I can't use this one, it's no good, you take it. So he gives me bowling balls sometimes, and I give him like a case of beer or something like that. So I went over to his house, picked up a fucking new bowling ball, dropped off a case of beer, twisted tea, actually, that's what he likes. Then I go to the bowling alley right away with the ball, bowl with one of my friends from the bowling league, get a little practice in. Then I go home, fall asleep at 10 o'clock at night, wake up this morning. Tonight I had 2 gigs at in Worcester. Both shows started at 8 o'clock. I'm opening one show, driving 8 miles, and then headlining the next show, doing 45 minutes. So 15-minute spot at one place, get in the car, drive across town, do a 45-minute spot at the next place, all on a 100-degree day. My head was spinning. My friend Paul was there, who works for Media Boss TV. I met Todd, who sells the awesome John Martin Cafe hats, the winter hats and the regular hats, and he came out, and there was a few other people in the crowd that I recognized from other shows. So thank you guys for coming out and supporting me. It's huge. But it was wild today, getting up and running across and doing 2 shows in Worcester. Yeah, 2 shows in a 90-minute period. 2 shows, 8 miles apart, 2 different sets. Got to keep your mind sharp, whatever, during all that. So that was tonight. Tomorrow, I can chill. Tomorrow I got to get up early, pre-bowl. Bowl for my league that I'm going to miss tomorrow night because I'm doing another John Tobin Presents gig at the Cape Cod Melody Tent for like 1,000 people. Then on Monday, I'm at Laugh Boston recording an album with Jim Serpico and his new virtual comedy network for release on Sirius XM and a bunch of other places. And then on Tuesday, I get the photo shoot for that album, and then I'll be able to kind of unclench my balls. And also I just want, it's also 98 degrees and 100 degrees even in the middle of the night. So it's been a wild ride. And but I'm like so lucky to be having a week like this in the middle of the summertime. This is normally the slow ass motherfucking time of the year, and luckily for me, I'm busy as fuck, so I'm not complaining. But it was one of those things where I sometimes lately have been doing this thing this week where I'm like checking out mid-conversation because I'm just like, I'm thinking about so many things at once. I fucked up a couple jokes at the first show tonight because I was so all over the place. And that kind of sucks. I was kind of bummed about that. I was like, wow, you fucked up a couple jokes there, Willie. But what are you going to do? That's business. Got a lot of new material, though, I'm very excited about. And also got some new opportunities coming up that I'm very excited about. So more to come on all that. All right, so one of the big stories in stand-up comedy today, and literally I mean today, is this comic in New York, Dina something or other. I don't know her at all. She's not a personal friend or anything. Never even met her, I don't think. Or maybe, I think I might have seen her at Skankfest, like backstage, but truly don't even know. She made a joke about this rapper, I think Triple X Nation, Triple X Neception. I don't know what this fucking guy's name is pronounced, but never heard of either one of these people until this morning. And early I saw a few New York comics kind of like tweeting about it like it was this big story, and I initially thought, I was like, man, the New York comics, they think they're the only, they're seen as the only scene in the world just because some chick in New York is getting trolled on the internet. I totally didn't understand how big of a deal it was, because I was just, well, not that it's the world's biggest deal anyway, but I didn't understand that it was Comedy Central was involved, because then I find out that the real story is Comedy Central does that show this week at the Comedy Cellar. This comic, Dino, was on it. She made the joke on the show. That's why so many people saw it. This rapper she made a joke about a dead rapper. His fans are pissed. Comedy Central took it down and apologized. Comedians are pissed that Comedy Central doesn't fucking do anything for us anymore other than just underpay us for shows. And I wish I was included in that us. They don't want to do fucking dog shit with me. But comedy's just changed now. The landscape has changed. The way people make money has changed. And people aren't fucking a slave to Comedy Central or late night television spots or anything anymore. You can just do whatever, and if your fans like you, you'll do okay, and if not, it's time to find something else. But everyone's talked about, all right, Bobby Bones, who's a guy I really like these days and really think is awesome at his job. Bobby Bones, he said something I thought was so true. He said, these days, no one is famous to everybody, and everybody is famous to somebody. And it's true. I mean, even Flat Cat is kind of famous in a way. She's like, it's like we all trickle down. Kumia's the real famous guy. Then I'm on the Kumia show. Flat Cat's a fan of Kumia and me, but she has like fans of her own because she's been such a prominent person on Twitter that I notice Flat Cat's tweets like get shitloads of likes and retweets and stuff, and I'm going, so here's a gal who kind of started in being a fan of other people, but now she's got a small following of her own. I bet if Flat Cat started a podcast, she'd have decent numbers. She'd have her own Patreon. So it's sort of like she's a known person in some way, public person in some ways, right? Then me, then Kumia, then Howard Stern, then Ellen. It goes up and down and, left and right now, and there's just all levels. Aaron and Gino, there's people who don't know who the fuck they are. There's people who would fucking shake and freak out if they met them. Same with Kevin Brennan. People on YouTube who have millions of fans and make millions of dollars that you've never heard of. It's just the Wild West out here. So the fact that Comedy Central is being gutless doesn't surprise me at all, and just doesn't I just think what sucks now is that the credits don't mean that much in comedy anymore. Like, I was like, oh man, it sucks that this girl's been on Comedy Central a bunch. I'm a comedian. I've never even heard of her before. Like, why don't I know who's good? Why doesn't... I mean, I know I don't live in New York, but it's like, why... I don't know. That's just a vague, worldly complaint, but it's just funny, being on Conan and having a great set, doesn't mean shit anymore. It'll help you. It's not bad, but it just won't make you into the star or into the money maker, guy who can do the clubs and make a lot of money on the road that it used to. It's like you got to do more and more and more to get on that club schedule and make decent money in this business. And I don't think anyone knows from time to time. But it's funny, I was just talking to somebody about bowling, and they were like, I think bowling actually is coming back. I'm starting to see it everywhere, and I'm like, I'm fucking telling y'all, I'm not a complete fool. I know things. But anyway, I'm so sick of talking about political correctness in comedy in both directions. I do think political correctness fucking sucks, and I think it's downright childish, actually, to take everything literally and to take everything to heart and to be such like a crying little bitch about feelings and about people's feelings getting hurt. I actually even think, I have this theory, and this is fucking risky. This is risky. But I think, I actually think that there's even making fun of people behind their backs endears you to them in some way. I really think that there's something to that. I think people think if you see a couple kids, let's say there's a kid in the neighborhood who has a tail, right? He's got a tail growing out of his back, and everyone thinks it's weird. And everyone in the neighborhood is like, why does that kid have a fucking tail? Why don't they remove it? Is he part animal? The tail confuses me, right? And then the neighborhood boys, when he's not around, they fucking shit on him, and they're like, oh, Taily Pete, he's got a fucking tail. Petey's so weird. What's up with his tail? Let's go yank on it. And they even have a little character for him. And then another year goes by, and they're all in the same grade, and now they're in class with the kid with the tail. And they're like, oh man, that was a good time last year when we making fun of Taily Pete. Now here he is next to me. I think I'm gonna hang out with that guy. People would be surprised how much that happens. Life's not a movie. You don't just make fun of somebody and then the next time you see him kick dirt in their face. Sometimes you actually go, oh, that was a fun time making fun of that guy. Happy memory, happy positive association with that person. Now you can interact easier with them. It's sort of like we all fear the unknown. We all fear the kid with the tail. Get it out. Shake it out with your friends. Get that shit off your chest and then act accordingly. And in the real world, in your actions, don't be a piece of shit and be actually mean and bully the kid with the tail. I think the problem is people think the making fun of section of this should never happen. But it's part of the fucking evolution of a person. And people just have to shake out things. Better they work out their fear of the unknown in private or on stage or in comedy clubs or with humor than with their actions. What really matters in this world is actions, not fucking playful thoughts, playful words. Comedians make connections to obscenely weird things all the time. We go out on huge limbs and ask people to have like ridiculous thoughts and agree with us on ridiculous things. That's why it's fun, you know? That's like jokes about chickens waiting to cross roads are funny because chickens don't fucking think about crossing roads. They just do it. That's why jokes are funny. They're absurd in a way. So Dina, who I don't know, she made a joke about this rapper who was murdered because he had 50 grand on him when he was going to buy a car, and either someone told someone that this guy's walking around with a ton of money, or he often walked around with a ton of money and someone just assumed he had a ton of money and robbed him and killed him. But either way, he got robbed and he had 50 grand cash on him when he got robbed. And comedian Dina, she made the joke, well, that's as good an advertisement for Venmo as I've ever seen. I mean, you should not be walking around that. When I heard that, I felt bad, but I also felt like, man, I should get the Venmo app. I'm paraphrasing another comedian's joke here, but that's what she said. And I think that's like fucking well within the fucking rules of making fun of somebody who's dead. It's making fun of the scenario. It's not it's not below the belt by any means. I fucking don't know how out of touch I am to not know who this guy is, but I really don't know who he is. But that's a dumbass move. I remember hearing there was a guy who won the lottery in Texas and he got killed outside of a strip club. Murdered because he had like $75,000 in cash with him and he was throwing it around at the strip club and flaunting it and stuff. It's like, it's still, you can be rich, you can be famous, you can be a badass, whatever. It's still fucking planet Earth, and psychos are gonna see you holding 50 grand and they're gonna want to kill you for it, man. So I'm not surprised any of this fucking happened, but it sucks how this whole social media bullshit and social media fucking shitstorms everyone goes on when they fucking start feeling so good about themselves for going on Twitter and saying like, look at this comedian, look at this clip I found of this comedian, isn't she fucking wrong and aren't we right? Like, and then pointing the finger. It's like, do you see how just gutless that is? And you're just a fucking punk if you're trying to get yourself over, get likes and retweets by putting someone else down without even being funny with it or clever with it or anything. You're just pointing at it and saying like, I think this is wrong because I've been told things like this are wrong. You know? I mean, people, you don't even have to go to the trouble of going through this guy's lyrics to find, I mean, come on, he's a rapper. How far do you have to go before you found him saying something fucked up about someone who's dead? I remember the biggest example I saw like 1,000 times today was this guy had lyrics about Amy Winehouse slitting her wrists, and he said like his watches or diamonds or something remind him of it. It's like, hey, you're famous, you're a public figure, you die, people can talk about you. Amy Winehouse just OD'd, had alcohol poisoning, by the way, or withdrawal. It's a very sad story. It's not to be made fun of. That's what I'm fucking saying. You can, it is what it is. But to go out there and be one of these people on Twitter who's always trying to get fucking likes and retweets by policing other people. It's fucking lame. And it's lame. There was a lot of lameness with this. There were comics trying too hard to look like they're tough guys and they care so much too. But it's just such a fucking lame time to be living in and to be doing all this fucking kind of shit and having to listen to this all day, every day. It's like, who gives a fuck? That's the number one point. People with tails out there we gotta worry about, for God's sake. But yeah, I just don't give a fuck. I think some comedians were getting a little too excited about it too. But anyway, I heard there was this other comedian who's I've also never heard of. There's a shitload of us these days. He was trying to kind of get his fans riled up, and he was actually taking the side of Comedy Central and the trolls online and giving out info on this chick, and she's getting a lot of quote death threats. And I just think it's fucking, the internet is a fucking ugly cesspool, and you can't take anything seriously that comes from it. And it's gonna be 50 fucking years before we recover from the cultural shift of social media and the internet. I mean, people have lost their fucking minds, man. These three women in the front row of my show tonight were just fucking like on their phones and talking and being such fucking twats the entire time, and I'm just like, this kind of shit, it happens. I get it. People go out, they get drunk, but it's just all day. I sometimes I feel like that psycho Robert De Niro character in Taxi Driver, where I'm just like hating. And it's not, obviously I meet plenty of people who I love, but walking around in traffic and driving in traffic and walking around this earth these days, man, I just see so many people who are just so fucking stupid, so fucking checked out, just doing the wrong thing, got the wrong idea. It's like, just go to work, come home, sign up for a couple Patreons for podcasts you love, smoke a little weed, do it all again the next day. I don't know why everyone now wants to be a fucking big star. Everyone wants to make $1 million fast overnight. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone wants to either be on Shark Tank, The Bachelor, Next Comic Standing, This Old House. Everyone's got like a TV show they'd like to be on. Everyone has a talent they want to be known for. Everyone's got a YouTube channel. It's just a weird, narcissistic little time to exist. As I drive down the highway doing my solo podcast that I talk to myself on. But see, I feel like I was born this way. Lady Gaga was born this way. Fucking always wanted to be an entertainer, always wanted to be in front of the people, and I was unique for a while in that fact, and now every fucking person I meet is trying to get into show business in one way or another. It's bizarre. It's fucking bizarre. Alright, I'm gonna hit this fucking thing. Hold up. So, am I back? Yeah. Sorry, Scott Stone. So I've always wanted to make. Let's talk about the Patreon for a little, just a little bit. I've always wanted this podcast to be free and not have too many ads. I've only done ads a few times, but I've always taken donations or whatever. But I've always kind of wanted this podcast to remain ad free, because when you accept ads from somebody, then you sort of have to do what they tell you to do. When you take a lot of money from somebody, you gotta follow rules, I've kind of not joined a few different comedy networks. None of the good ones, though. Believe me, I've also tried to get on one or two of the bigger comedy networks. But I've turned down a few of the smaller, no-name ones, because I've just always wanted to keep this thing kind of pure in its own thing. But Skankfest was definitely an eye-opening experience because I was like, all right, these people are supporting me, and this is like something I would rather be putting my focus into than the club. I love doing the clubs, and I want to keep doing comedy clubs, but the goals have kind of shifted. It's like when I started, you used to want your podcast to just get popular and then go do the clubs or go do shows. Use that popularity to get yourself into other shit. But there's a new thing now where it's kind of like you just keep doing the podcast every day, and if you have enough fans, enough patrons, enough people support you, you can do more and more stuff, and you can get more and more equipment and grow bigger and bigger. And it's like cutting out everyone entirely and just being 100% in control. And then you can do clubs if you want. You can only do the clubs you want to do, and you can be just much more free and have much more control. And it's like, hey man, if people will give $12 a month to Netflix, why won't they give $2.69 a month to you? If they're reading your tweets all day and watching your videos and you're doing shows. And I was like, so I'm at Skankfest and I'm meeting all the fans of the Kumia show, of Skanks, Legion of Skanks, the Irish Goodbye podcast, meeting Tuesdays of Stories, meeting the fans of those shows and how proudly they wore their sort of fandom of those shows and their patronage of it. I was like, you know what? I should really get in on this. Like, I always thought it was like a greed thing. I was like, I don't want to look greedy. I don't need to have a Patreon. But I realized that's kind of not that. It's like, it's a community, and it's about sort of like saying, hey, this is us here. You guys support me. I do stuff. And it's just a cool thing. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. I don't want to go full Kevin Brennan on you and be like, come on, give me the money. But it is not. It would be so cool to, I don't know, just have enough people sort of throwing money in that bucket at the end of church, and this thing could really grow into a lot of places. And I got some big ideas. I'd love to one day do a daily show. That's like really my dream right now lately. My daydream would be to do a daily 2 or 3 hour show with 2 or 3 other people. That's kind of my goal right now, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get that going. But that's a big project, and that requires a lot. And I'm kind of thinking about maybe trying to do it on a real, actual radio station. But there you go, right? Then you're kind of locked up, and you can't do a lot of things. So I'm just letting you know where I'm at. But so that's kind of why I decided to do that today. And I don't know. Let me know how you think, how you feel, what you think about that. If you think it's a bad move, if you're, I know a lot of you guys, last podcast on the left, a lot of people are patrons of a lot of things, and they know like what good perks are. If you have any suggestions, things you want to do, let me know, because it's crazy, man. Hypothetically, you guys stay on this thing with me. It's been going for fucking how many years now? I can take some long gaps between putting out episodes. Y'all still support me when I do, and download the old ones, which I think is just fucking great. So I would love to focus on it more. Honest to God, if like 2 or 3 people got on that $10 level, I would 100% be Irish guilt, like putting out at least an episode a week. But my goal one day is to do the Noonan show with maybe 4 people, or maybe a different show, and continue to do the Noonan show with Paul. But I think we might be making some changes over there too, though, to the way we shoot it. And I feel like that show should be funnier. I think we just shoot the shit too much. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I'd like to hear from you. Fucking Red Sox have been eating cocks lately, man. They've been pretty tough to watch. Coming up on Fenway Park here in a couple minutes. And I went to the game with my chick the other day, and It was one of those rain games, but I actually didn't mind it because it was so hot out that every time it rained for a little while, I was like, it's just comfortable. This just makes it comfortable. I'd rather be a little bit wet and comfortable than fucking sitting here in 90-something degree heat and just sweating to death. I fucking hate all this heat, man. I know I say it every year, and I'm dealing with it better this year, I think. I'm staying hydrated. Gotta stay hydrated, man. That's the key. So I'm staying hydrated. I'm fucking trying to eat a little bit right. But I just hate the fucking summertime. The dog days of summer when it's hot. I don't know though. You ever see how different people take the weather? Like, I have two friends, both African American guys, and one of them sweats like Michael Jordan fourth quarter of a basketball game, you know, when it's 77 degrees. Like, it's just a little hot, he starts sweating bullets. Another one of my friends, African American guy, he's like wearing a hoodie, Timberlands, and fucking jeans, and a winter hat when it's 95 degrees out and not a bead of sweat on him. Now, I realize this isn't a black thing, this is an everyone thing, but sweat is like so much more visible in a cool way on a black dude. Like it beads up. Like, remember those old Gatorade commercials they had when Michael Jordan, it was like the sweat would be Gatorade? It was like Michael Jordan and LeBron. They were cool ass commercials. You can do it with white people when you color it like Gatorade, but it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't look as good, you know. It's like it's a color thing. Tattoos kind of pop a little bit more on a white person, and sweat kind of pops a little bit more on a black dude, right? So you notice it a little bit more. So everyone's on this different fucking thing. Like, me and my chick couldn't be more different. I'm always like, I always could go for a room being a little colder. I always like to be a little on the cooler side. My chick likes it warm. My chick likes it fucking warm. She's always freezing. Chicks are always fucking cold. It's really, you know, that's the problem with the world. People are like, when are we ever all going to get together? It's never going to happen. We're never all going to get together. We're all fucking different, man. There's too many of us to ever think, when's everyone going to agree? We're not going to agree. Not only are we not going to agree, we don't even see and hear and fucking we don't even see and hear the world the same way and feel temperature the same fucking way. Some people hear Donald Trump's voice, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Other people hear it and it's like fucking smooth molasses. And it just tastes good. Sounds good. So stop fucking trying. It's like, let it go. You ever have that friend who's so fucked up and depressed, and you spend years trying to get them out of it, and you just realize, you know what? They want to be like this. It's just this they're the way they want to be. They want to be sad and fucked up and not get any better. That's fine. That's them. I don't want to waste my time trying to help this person get out of this hole anymore, because they clearly like being in the hole. I just don't like looking at them being in the hole, and it's driving me crazy. But you know what? Who am I to change someone else's life? If they want to sit in a hole that they dug themselves that's filled with shit at the bottom, I can't stand looking at it, and I hate it, but that's their choice. That's their life. We all have a friend like that in our lifetime, where you spend a ton of time trying to get them out of that fucking hole, trying to get them to not be depressed or lazy or a loser, and then you realize that's just them. That's just the way it is, and you let it go. America and society and political correctness and all that bullshit is that friend. They are never going to change, and America is never going to change, and people are never going to change, and we're never all going to get together, and we're never all going to fucking agree, and we're never all going to like the same temperature. So you just got to let it go. You just got to let that part of the relationship go. You can still live in America. You can still be friends with America. You can still see it sometimes. But stop caring about fixing it, because you're never gonna. Because as soon as you take care of one thing, another thing's happening. Because with the passage of time, America gets more fucked up. Why? Because it wants to be fucked up. It enjoys living in that space. You know? So just stop. I'm telling you, there's so much freedom in not giving a fuck about politics, not giving a fuck about political correctness, and just living your life without fucking hurting anyone's feelings too bad or doing anything that gives you guilt and hurts your conscience. And things will probably turn out fucking okay, you know? If you're spending so many hours a day online fucking arguing with nobodies, fucking freaking out about rich and famous people's problems, you're fucking wasting your time, man. Go. You would be better served smoking weed, playing a video game, and jerking off. There's a better use of your time than going online and arguing with people who disagree with you. Seriously. What I care with you? Being dead serious. Let me take another hit of this. I feel like I'm building up a head of steam right as I'm wrapping up, but did so many shows today. Shocked I still did this podcast. Fucking shocked. But yeah, that's my fucking outlook these days. I said it on the Noonan show, and I'll say it here, and I think it's one of the most correct things I ever said. Politicians, the people that run this country, Donald Trump, all the people that are running for president, all that fucking shit, celebrities, they are the Lannisters, all right? We all live in King's Landing. America's King's Landing. And those people, the president, the fucking Democrats, Republicans, and the fucking celebrities are up in King's Landing Castle. They are the Lannisters. They are the rich. They are worried about who's getting fucking what piece of the pie, right? And the rest of us, we're all down here in King's Landing. And yeah, the show Game of Thrones is about the people up in the castle. And it's about their exciting, fucking dramatic, romantic, crazy, powerful lives. But the rest of us are down here living in King's Landing, just buying fruit in the street, fucking putting on little shows, handing money back and forth to each other all day while they play with us. Well, they make decisions that affect us night and day. But you know what? Everything has to maintain a status quo. They ain't worried about you personally. You shouldn't worry about them. All you can do is vote, motherfuckers. The rest of it, you're just playing into a fucking system. A broken motherfucking system, man. Oh. Ooh, wow, I just drove an hour and a half and only had one person slam the brakes in front of me for no reason in the middle of nowhere. That's actually like a red letter day here in Boston. Boston, Massachusetts. But, yeah, I just could not give a fuck about Donald Trump or whoever runs against him. Because they're all just going to fuck us. And I don't think that the world's going to revert back to crazy, the world I live in is pretty racially, what's the word I'm looking for? Everyone seems to get along pretty well. And I'm 36 years old and I've had several women bosses, several bosses of all different, I've had authority figures and bosses and cops and firemen and nurses and teachers of male, female, straight, gay, and of every race. I've dated every race, almost, and I'm a 36-year-old guy who lives in Boston. So, if I'm even close to an average man, I think what you see online and what you actually see in the real world is complete fucking garbage, trash. It's just like sports, If you looked at my fucking feed, you'd think the Red Sox were the only thing that happens in the whole world, If you listen to WEI and some of the people that call into it, you'd think they thought it was the only thing happening in the world. Politics sort of takes on this air of being an intellectual hobby and not like sports or being an intellectual pursuit because, let's face it, back in the hundreds of years ago, president made vast changes and made this great nation, but it's just been a fucking joke position since the 19 fucking 40s, man. Since World War II, it's just basically been a job for celebrities to jerk off all day. Now I'm really making no sense. I really don't know what I'm talking about. Obviously, presidents make big decisions, but they have Congress, and we've had idiot presidents before, and we'll have idiot presidents again. And the older I get, the more I'm like, who the fuck? Anyone who would want to be a president is a complete narcissistic douchebag. Didn't Joe Rogan say he wanted the country run by a computer or something like that? I think it would be cool if we had like a committee. Like, just get rid of president and let Congress run the country. I'd be fine with that. And every state elects one Republican, one Democrat, and then if any other party wants to start, they have to get a certain amount of signatures or whatever. And then we have a Congress or Senate like thing of like 100 people. Or 200, 2 representatives from every state, and we solve everything that way. And everything's done by vote, popular and unpopular. And I would totally vote, by the way, like 7 or 8 times a year. They make it seem like you only should vote and you get the polls open. They should fucking build some polls. I vote for little things all the time. Fuck it. I got big ideas. Maybe I should run for fucking president. Did you guys vote for me? Did you vote for me for president? Let's start by just donating to my Patreon. Or becoming a patron of my Patreon. Man, how is this thing only at 44 minutes? 45. I got back super fucking fast from the woo. I must have been flying down that highway. I'm already back in Southie, yo. So moving in with my girlfriend in a couple weeks. August 1st will be our first day moving in together. It should be an interesting turn of events for your hero of this story of Hypothetically podcast being me. Big life change. I'm feeling pretty good about it, but you never fucking know. People obviously love to scare me all the time or tell me that life's going to be horrible now. You can always tell where people are at in their marriage or whatever by how they say that. But yeah, some people meet me and they're like, you're gonna fucking hate it, here it goes, here's the end, you're giving your dick and balls away, blah blah boo boo. Then you meet other people who are like, oh, you're gonna love it, it's good, chicks are clean, they take care of you, da 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 da. So you just never know. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I think I found a great gal, but that's why you live with them before you put a ring ski on that thing, right? This ought to tell me if there's any real problems. It was so funny. My ex was up here doing something. A couple people brought her up to me. I'm like, listen, bro, I don't give a fuck, all right? So take your story someplace else. Tell it walking, homie, because that shit's the past. I don't like to talk about the past. I'm not a big focus on the past guy. I was thinking of that today. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to a baby shower. I wanted to go to it, actually. It's some good friends of mine from high school. I wanted to go, but I was too busy today. But I was like, man, I do have a hard time sometimes hanging out with people that I knew before I quit drinking. Because it's like, it's hard to explain, but it's like when you have to reinvent yourself and you have to kind of become a different person, you kind of have to, when you have to make a lot of changes like that, it's like you change and I just don't know how to explain it, but I was a fucking dickhead when I hung out with a lot of those people. And it's like when I still hang out with some of them these days, I feel like, or over the years and you hang out with them again, you feel like the dickhead starts to come back because that's just like what's natural and like what feels right. And it's just an awkward, weird thing, and it's one of those like you can't go. It's like going back to your hometown. It doesn't look the same, You've changed, is changed. Shit happens. So it's kind of a sad thing. I still definitely love all those people and have I follow them all on Instagram, but it's hard. I do feel like the conversations just don't flow that well, like with some of them anymore, because it's just like, hey, I'm not like an idiot. So you don't have to talk to me like I am one, but I don't blame you because I acted like an idiot around you for fucking years. So it's not your fault. You think I'm an idiot, but I'm trying not to be an idiot anymore. So I'd appreciate you don't treat me like one. And even right in that moment, you feel like you start to act like one. So it's hard to explain. But I'm coming up on 10 years since I quit drinking. So that'll be something to think about. That'll probably be a whole nother podcast. Definitely want to. I always like helping people out with that. So send me an email if you're having any issues. Anyway, I'm fucking home. I'm fucking tired. I'm in the middle of a fucking crazy week. And I'm not even done with it yet. But thank you guys for listening. Thanks to Jen Mengen, Aurora, Elizabeth, who I may or may not be Bobo's mom. I'm not even sure if that's real or not. And of course, Flat Cat, my first 3 patrons. You guys are the bomb. And y'all deserve shout outs. So, thank you guys for listening. And remember, if no one told you they love you today, I do. Peace out, motherfuckers. That was a big one. When I'm in New York, I like the Millie Rock. When I'm in New York, Millie Rock. That was a good one. Hey. Test. When I'm in New York, I like the Millie Rock. When I'm in New York, I like the Millie Rock. When I'm in New York, I like the Millie Rock. When I'm in New York, I like the Millie Rock. 1 1 1 2 2 2 3 3 3. Good.